Okay, this channel has kind of been dead for quite a while. I'm sorry about that. Being a grown-up and having a job kind of gets in the way. Because I really loved making YouTube videos back in the day. It's just being an adult got in the way. But, you know, now I've got some free time, so it's back to what I love, which is traveling. Now, since my last bunch of travels, and the financial issues in the world and in the UK really, traveling has become a lot more expensive than it used to be a few years ago. We found that flights from England to Bangkok, for example, have become way more expensive than they used to be. So we took it as a challenge to find where the cheapest flights were from. We found the cheapest flights were from Vienna. I mean, you can get cheaper ones, but those are like the 33-hour flights with like 3 stops, and I can't be bothered with that. So the next plan was to get to Vienna. The simple and boring way would obviously be just to get a flight from England to Vienna and then just go on from there. But where's the fun in that?
We ended up going with the Interrail pass, which gets you unlimited train travel around Europe. We chose the 7 days in a month pass. And though 7 days doesn't sound like a lot, on those days you can ride the train as many times as you like.
Rather than go straight to Vienna, we decided that what we were going to do is use our Interrail pass to explore locations all over Europe first, and then fly off from there.
From the very start of this trip, we had a change of plans, because as you can see, this is a boat and not a train. We had been planning on getting the Eurostar. However, we left that a bit late, so the boat it was. But it turns out this boat was pretty cool, as it had a pet lounge, some donuts and cakes and stuff, and the best part was obviously the video game arcade. Once we reached Europe, our first night was spent in Little France, where I basically filmed nothing because it wouldn't stop raining. We didn't spend too much time out and about in the more expensive Western Europe, but this worked out okay as we were trying to save money. It was then time to catch the first of many trains. I think we might have overdone it at the start of this trip because we started with a 500-mile journey. This journey can take over 10 hours and involves 4 train changes. As with any train journeys that need platform changes, it's always good to check the next platform you need first. For whatever reason, the Interrail phone app doesn't include these, but you can always check the platform numbers on Google. Altogether, we travelled through 3 countries that day, and it might not have been so bad if it were not for the backpacks and having to change at all the stations. And then there's the rain again that kept following us. The worst downpour was in Dresden, where we got soaked walking from the train station to the hotel. But at least I had a hairdryer. You think that after a first hectic travel day, we'd learn our lesson, slow down a little bit. But you'll see from later videos that we never really learn our lesson. Fortunately, the second travel day wasn't as crazy. It was just a 2.5-hour train journey from Dresden to Prague. We ended up buying the ticket separately for this journey, as it wasn't worth activating the rail pass for such a short trip. On this leg of the journey, we would just be staying in Prague for 3 days, but we would be back later in the trip, so keep an eye out for this in later videos. One of the benefits of travelling further east is beer gets cheaper. For example, a beer that you might buy in France for around £6 could end up costing you closer to £1 in parts of Prague. On this trip I found a beer that I really loved, Kozel Dark. I was less enthusiastic about the food though.
Why?
After a few days of relaxing, it was back on the trains. We were travelling to Český Krumlov, a medieval city about 100 miles south of Prague. When interrailing across Europe, always plan for the unexpected. This train was supposed to take 40 minutes. However, due to replacement bus services that didn't really get in on time, it led us to be stuck in this lovely train station for an hour. I passed the time by watching this guy obsessively clean the floor. I ended up feeling really sorry for him because he ended up cleaning the floors over and over again every time someone walked on them. But in the end, all the travelling was worth it, as Chesley Krumlov was beautiful. I had my concerns at the beginning that it would just look the same as Prague. However, Chesley Krumlov definitely has its own unique charm. Though we had stuff to see, by this point I just wanted to get this backpack off. Apparently, there's a form of exercise that people do whilst they wear backpacks called rucking. It sounds like a rude word, I didn't make it up, Google it. It just consists of hiking but with extra weight, so it kind of works. Please be aware that Chesley Krumlov can either be really busy or really quiet. This is because it's very driven by tourism. The day trippers come from Prague on the coaches in the middle of the day and then go home later that day. It means that the mornings and the evenings can be very quiet, and it makes it feel like a medieval ghost town. Due to this, some of the bars, restaurants and pubs are only open for certain days of the week and for certain hours, so it's best to check these things out in advance. But there's something in the city that's always open, and that's the bear moat. It's been part of the castle grounds since the 1700s. I'm not really sure of the names of the current bears in there, because the internet has loads of conflicting information, so if you know, put them in the comments. In more recent years, the moat has been revamped to make sure the bears have a more comfortable environment, because I can't imagine the bear moat from the 1700s was that bear friendly. We ended up spending 5 nights in Chesley Krumlov, which is a bit too much, and being as, things are closed and stuff. I would suggest if you wanted to visit the city, then 2 nights would be better. Next, we were off to Budapest. Just getting there would be a little bit trickier than we thought. Remember when I said Google can help you find the platform numbers? Well, that doesn't always work, because sometimes train stations are so remote they don't have platform numbers. From trial and error, we later found out that, more often than not, that the platforms are all in order, with number 1 being closer to the station. Luckily, we did manage to get the next train okay. This train journey would take over 7 hours, but as we only had to change trains once, it seemed like a luxury. That evening, we reached Budapest, and oh look, rains followed us again. Getting a bit of a joke by this point. Though the sun did come out, it seems that this is all I filmed, because later we just went out and got drunk with our friend Jason. I really wasn't joking about filming nothing in Budapest, because here's the next day and we're catching another train. This time we're heading south, towards Deva, Romania. Deva in Transylvania is about 2.5 hours away from Budapest, and this was a direct train. So why did it take over 7 hours? The train was going quite fast, so we had no idea, until we crossed the border into Romania, where the trains got a lot slower. Whereas previously we had been on trains that were going over 170 miles an hour, the Romanian trains were travelling at 30 miles an hour. So it's probably best that you're not in a rush when catching one of these trains. We later rolled into Deva, which I noticed had a buttload of crows, only topped by the amount of pizza joints they have. I'm sure if we had longer in Deva we could find things that weren't pizza joints, but at first glance it seemed a bit crazy. We did find that Deva has an old town, a cool fortress on a hill, which we could see from our Airbnb, and it's quite close to Corbin Castle, which is a 30-minute drive away. I was glad to find that our Airbnb had one of these crazy old lifts. Though they look a bit dangerous, they must still work because there's hundreds of them all over Europe. Though this one isn't that exciting and kind of looks like travelling in a wardrobe. Some of these lifts can be beautiful. Okay, it also appears I didn't film much of anything in Deva, sorry about that, but please join us for the next video where I promise I filmed more. Stay tuned, as next time I've discovered the joys of Romanian TV, thought we were goners in Varna, and I attempt to sleep on the sleeper train. If you want to keep track of our travels, then please subscribe, and a like would be nice. And I promise I won't leave an 8-year gap between videos this time. Bye!